Are you okay? He asked me again. I could feel the blood rush to my cheeks as embarrassment flooded through me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's just that it's so dark and quiet out there, and then I was taking a bath, and I swear I heard something growl outside the bathroom window, not once but twice. And then I went to sleep on the couch, and I could hear something walking around on the front porch, and then my mind just kind of ran away, and I just freaked out. I cast my eyes down, unable to look at him anymore, waiting for him to laugh at me. But he never did. I looked up at him and was a little surprised to find he looked furious. God, he's pissed. I'm sorry. I started apologizing as tears burned my eyes. It's been a long few weeks. I'm sorry for bothering you. I turned, trying to hide my face from him. I knew I should have just hidden in the closet till morning. Then I realized I just said that out loud as he gently grabbed my face, forcing me to look at him. I'm not mad at you. You said you heard growling outside the bathroom window while you were taking a bath? He asked me through gritted teeth. I nodded my head, still embarrassed about this whole ordeal. He seemed to zone out for a minute before he smiled at me. Were you really thinking about hiding in a closet until morning? I knew my cheeks burned a bright red now. Okay, I didn't mean to say that out loud, but yes, I was going to. I thought a rabid coyote was trying to get in to eat me. I tried to explain myself, but it did sound kind of ridiculous when I said it out loud. We both burst out laughing at my admission. Would it make you feel better if I stayed out here with you? He asked, softly. Won't your girlfriend or wife get pissed about you babysitting another girl? I swear I don't know what has gotten into me. I'm usually never this outspoken, and here I am being a smartass to a man that could literally break me like a twig. I felt a twinge of pain at the thought of him being with another girl. That's weird. He chuckled. I guess they probably wouldn't like it much if I had one. Wait, he's single? I couldn't help but wonder why. This man was drop-dead gorgeous and could probably have any girl he wanted drooling at his feet. Wonder what's wrong with him. Anger issues? I assumed out loud. Lord, help me keep my mouth shut. I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell has gotten into me. I swear I'm not usually like this. I was becoming embarrassed about the fact that I couldn't seem to keep my thoughts to myself and my mouth shut. And to answer your question, I tend to have a short temper, but that's not why I'm single. I would never hurt an innocent woman or child, no matter how angry I was. That's not who I am. Dane brought me out of my thoughts as he broke the silence. So, tell me about yourself, Holly. My heart rate started picking up. I still wasn't sure if I should tell him anything or not. I promise whatever you would tell me will stay between us. His voice was so smooth and confident as he spoke. I sat silently, still having an internal battle about how much I should tell him. Part of me knew I could trust him, but part of me still wasn't sure. Why don't you start with something simple, like where you grew up? I took a deep breath as I thought about it. That is easy to answer. I grew up in the system. I was abandoned as a baby and no one ever wanted me. So that was my childhood. Not too much to talk about. He stood silently as he plated our food. I'm sorry that you had that kind of life. He slid my plate in front of me before turning and pouring me a cup of tea and handing it to me. He took a seat across from me with his plate of food, waiting for me to continue. I started working when I was 16 and got my first apartment and car when I turned 18. Waitressing mostly, but was saving to go to college. His eyes seemed to light up. What do you want to study? He'd been so quiet while I talked that I had started to believe he wasn't even listening. Haven't decided for sure yet, but either an elementary teacher or counselor, something with kids. I want to help kids somehow. I took a big bite of my burger. This is so good, I told him as I took another bite. He chuckled softly. Tell me about this ex of yours. What's his name? His tone was more serious than before. And with that, my anxiety started flooding through me. Dane sat eating his burger, patiently waiting for me to answer him. I convinced myself that there was no way he could know Kane, so it didn't matter. So I met him at the diner I worked at. I already knew of him, he's the town's playboy. At first he was nice. Well, when it was just him and me anyway. We dated for about 2 months. He was my first boyfriend. I paused, thinking about Kane. Honestly, he was my first everything. I cleared my throat, deciding what to say next. Once I finally decided to give myself completely to him is when everything changed. One time. That's all it was, one time. I felt a tear slip down my face. I regret ever giving Kane even a second of my time. I looked at Dane as I wiped my face, pulling myself back together. He told me after that he was a werewolf, and if anyone found out that, I knew I would be in danger. I wanted to believe that he was mentally unstable, but I saw his eyes change, and I swear he growled. I watched Dane, waiting for him to start laughing, but then again, he said he's an alpha. Why are you scared of him? Did he hit you? Dane questioned. His whole body seemed to tense, and when he looked up, I saw his eyes swirl with a light grey. He didn't hit me. I mean, he got a little rough when I told him I was pregnant. Of course, at first, he tried to deny it was his. I scoffed at the memories. He leaned down and kissed the top of my head. I have some things I need to do before breakfast. Will you be okay until then? I nodded, missing the warmth of his embrace as soon as he pulled away. He didn't bother grabbing his shirt before he walked out the door, locking it behind him. I felt exhaustion taking over. As I laid down on the couch Dane had just been sleeping on. His scent still lingered there, and I fell into a much-needed deep sleep. I woke to the smell of bacon cooking. I saw a shirtless Dan sitting at the bar and his mother cooking at the stove as I sat up. No one was talking. Dane just seemed to be watching his mother cook. I rubbed my eyes as I stood up. Good morning, I greeted both of them. Dane spun around. More like good afternoon, he grinned. What time is it? His mother just laughed. Don't listen to Dane, dear. It's only noon. I couldn't believe I'd slept that long. So you knew I was your mate when you saw me in the diner? I asked, looking at Dane. He just nodded his head. But I didn't know you were human. You have the scent of a werewolf, though it is faint. I looked down at my plate, trying to process what I had just learned. I have so many questions right now. So, what are some of the signs humans have? I asked curiously. Oh, there are many, but the most obvious ones are the tingles or shocks when your mate touches you, and they have a way of calming you with just their presence. My eyes widened at her response. Do you have either of these with Alpha Dane? I looked at Dane, who seemed a little nervous about my response. Yes, actually, I do, I answered her, never taking my eyes off Dane. A huge smile spread across his face as his eyes bore into me. Adria sighed, smiling. I'm so happy for you all. She stood from the table. I have some things I need to get done, but dear Dane will answer the rest of your questions. If there's anything you'd like to talk to me about, just tell him and he will call me. She made her way around the table and gave me a quick hug before doing the same to Dane. So, we're mates? I asked him again once I heard the front door shut. Dane stood and reached out a hand to me to help me up. Yes, we're mates. He led us back to the couch and sat down. I sat next to him with my legs folded. He gently rested his hand on my knee as he watched me intently. Does that mean I can't ever leave here? Hurt flashed through his eyes. No, that's not what I mean. I will never force you to stay here or be with me. You can reject me, he trailed off, worry settling on his brows. What happens if I do that? I'm not saying that I'm rejecting you. I'm just trying to understand, I clarified. If it's done before mating and marking, then the wolf will survive, though they tend to be a little temperamental, and it does weaken the wolf. If it's done after the pair has mated and marked each other, then the chances of surviving aren't very likely. I just ask that you give me a fair chance before you decide if you want to reject me. Give me a chance to prove to you that I'm worthy. Dane looked at me pleadingly. It doesn't bother you that I'm pregnant by another man? Another werewolf? He shook his head. No, it doesn't matter to me. If you decide to stay with me, I will raise it as my own. He has no idea what that means to me. To know that he already accepts my unborn child makes my heart swell. Dane, I know I already said this, but I'm sorry for how I treated you. He reached over and pulled me to him. I laid my head on his chest and closed my eyes. I don't know if I can ever get over how safe I feel when he's around me.